What's up, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this POV review by Autobahn. My name is Martin, and today I'm taking a look at this, one of the most important cars to come out in 2026, the new Porsche 911 Turbo S, the 992.2. Now this might look like just a facelift, because it does look quite similar to the previous one, but the technique is totally different. Let's start with the wheels. There is so much to talk about. So these are the optional wheels with the carbon flicks in there, and we have new carbon ceramic brakes, which are now 420mm. If we go at the rear section or the rear axle, we have this massive 325 tire. It used to be a 315, so everything got bigger. And same goes for the fender. So if you compare this to like a Carrera S, this is 22 mils wider, and at the front even 45 mil. And you can also see it in the tail light, because you have this little opening right here that shoots air out of the wheel arch. And of course we have these massive turbo inlets that feed the turbos. Now here we have the old new engine, which is a 3.6 flat 6 bi-turbo, of course, and it shares a lot of the technique with a GTS. So it's basically the same block, but it uses two slightly smaller turbochargers, whereas the GTS uses a single turbo, which is slightly larger. These are electric turbos, so they spool up through electricity and with well, the exhaust, as is traditionally the case with a turbocharger. But that means the spool up is really quick, also because they're a little smaller in diameter, and that means we no longer have 650 horsepower like with the previous model, but we have 711 horsepower and 800 newton meters, which is insane. It does 0 to 100 in 2.5 seconds, and the top speed, if you choose the right setting, is 322 kilometers an hour. Now I'll come back to that later on, why you should go for the right setting. You might purchase this car and be disappointed on the Autobahn, but as I said, we'll talk about that later on. We have the optional titanium tips on this, which also means you have to go for the optional carbon fiber rear diffuser. Of course, there have been a lot of changes for the suspension, the aero. We have active aero in the front, so you have all these little flaps that can open and close. You have that inflatable front splitter, and overall I think this car is absolutely gorgeous. But have they tackled the biggest flaw of the 911 Turbo, which is the fact that it is, or was, maybe slightly boring to drive? I don't think it's the most exciting 911 to drive. I think a real drive Carrera S even is more exciting to drive than the old Turbo S. But let me assure you, this car has changed by quite a bit. So on the interior we now have these Turbo Night details. You also have them on the exterior, which is specific to the turbo. They're also on the wheels, on the crest, on the wheel crests, and this whole piece right here and there, this piece right here, it's all in that Turbo Night sort of gunmetal gray color. So those new 420mm PCCBs, those are the carbon ceramic brakes. They now have a 10-piston front caliper and a 4-piston rear caliper. The car overall is 85 kilos heavier because of all kinds of regulations, of course safety, and of course the new hybrid system. And what's also quite special is that this car is equipped with the optional carbon fiber windshield wipers. How insane is that? Of course we also have the carbon fiber mirror caps, and this little corner piece on the exterior is even carbon fiber. So of those 711 horsepower, 80 of them come through the electric engine that sits in the PDK 8-speed, and that means we can do 0 to 200 in 8.4 seconds. Now let me assure you, you can do it a lot quicker than that. Let me demonstrate. We now have a starter button on the left, which I think is a right shame, but let's start in sport mode. We no longer have the burbles in sport mode. Usually with the 992 you get some burbles in sport mode which disappear when you go into Sport Plus or into normal mode, but probably because of emissions or some kind of regulation, we don't have them anymore. So the whole car feels more alive, the engine is more alive. When you step on the throttle, it just wants to spool up and release all that power and torque. Whereas the previous 992 Turbo S was a little more hesitant and had more of a spool up, which I think is really nice because it really adds to the aggression of the car. And same goes for the handling. The handling is a lot better, but I mean a lot better. It feels more pointy, more beefy, more like a true sports 911. Definitely more sporty than your average Carrera S or something like that. And this car is 14 seconds quicker around the Nürburgring than the normal 992 Turbo S or the 992.1. And you can really tell, honestly, I'm not being pretentious here, it really makes a massive difference, all these changes. It's so more alive, this car. It's way more communicative and it's much more rewarding in a dynamic sense. It's really, really good. And they have made massive progress in that respect, because I always thought the 992 Turbo S was a bit boring because of the way it drove. It was so neutral, and that neutralness, if that's a word, is gone. It's sharp, it's on edge. And the fact that it now is freaking fast, well, it already was, but let me tell you, it really does feel a lot quicker than the previous one. And combine that with the fact that it's a lot more alive in a dynamic sense as well, really adds up to a different car, really. But it's still that friendly 911 that you can take your kids to school with, you can go on your holiday. It's super, super practical. And I just love that. But before I hit the Autobahn, I just want to talk to you about the watch I'm wearing, both in the video and currently. It's the Ignition Lugano, and Ignition Collection is a small brand that Max and I started, small batches of limited edition Swiss-made watches. So they're all made in Switzerland, and in this case it's our top model, the Lugano. It's a diver, so we have a little automotive reference, so we engraved the James Bond Lotus Esprit diver in the crown of the watch. It has a ceramic bezel, it has a helium release valve, and that's why it can go up to 500 meters of depth. Automatic movement, only 50 pieces, of which 25 have a rubber strap and 25 have a metal strap. It's available at ignitioncollection.com, and if you use code 911turbo, you get a 10% discount. So this is your chance to get something really unique, maybe for a friend or yourself or your father, and at a great price. So go to ignitioncollection.com, use code 911turbo, enjoy the rest of the video. That versatility in combination with that wild character it has now is really, really cool. Okay, so on the Autobahn, let's switch to Sport Plus. I think we have a bit of space here. How are these two coping? Okay. That is insane. So 100 to 200. I did a 5.3. And here is the top speed. Won't go any faster, but I don't even get any notification of why it's not going any faster. But if we dive into the menus and we disengage the spoiler, we get the true top speed of 322. Now, you might remember that when we tested the normal 0.1 Turbo S, we had a spoiler failure at like 320, 330. So I guess they tackled that issue by just limiting it with the spoiler up. I have to say, you do really feel the difference. So with the spoiler up, it feels a lot more tied down, a lot more secure. With it disengaged, it's a bit more loose. So I just did my video analysis, and this is the spoiler engaged in Sport Plus mode. So as you can see, it has some sort of an angle. Now if you disengage it at higher speed, it flattens like that. And then you can reach its top speed, and fully disengaged, you can see it lowers down into the spoiler. Oh, VW Arteon R police car. Never mind. It's a little too busy to try out noise control, but if you haven't seen that video with all the times and stuff, go click in the top right corner. Appreciate the added sharpness to the 911 Turbo. It's more towards a GT. Really like that. And the suspension is just magical. So on the Autobahn, in this sportier setting, it's a little too harsh, but just press it and it becomes super nice, soft and leveled out, soaks it all up without getting floaty or something like that. It's really good. So if you add those up, the 2.5 to 100, which I think, well, can be beaten even, and the 100 to 200 I measured, 5.3, it would be a 7.8, whereas Porsche says it does a 8.3, so it's half a second quicker to 200 than what they claim, which is massive. Half a second is a different world, a different league. But that's always the case with Porsche, understating what these cars actually do, and I always really appreciate that. It's what they at least will do. That's how you should interpret it. So confidence inspiring, it is so quick. Massive sound from that little edge right here, but if Porsche R&D wants my full report, they can call me and I'll do it for free. Okay guys, so back in the Netherlands, fun is over. The new 911 Turbo, what a machine, and I love what they've done to it. I think it's a massive upgrade. It's exciting to drive, it's super quick, but it's still that versatile, friendly 911 Turbo we all know if you just flick it into normal and drive it in a normal fashion. But you know, when you hit that Sport Plus mode, what a car. Thank you guys for watching. Go subscribe to the channel, go check out this video, or check out the reviews playlist. Thank you guys. Bye.